Okay, good afternoon, folks. Betty Cox and folks, as you begin joining in, we're going to be, as you see the video is titled, Judging President Biden. We're going to be talking about giving the guy a letter grade and how the Biden administration is doing so far. Nearly 2 years in office. Now, make no mistake about it. Under the Biden administration, the economy has been in the tank. It has been high gas prices. You know, you look at inflation, even the jobs numbers were horrible. But in the last month or so, things have gotten significantly better. So we're going to be asking the first question is, under the Biden administration, is things getting better? Now, I see Michael Ramsberg in the comments is giving Biden multiple Fs. He's doing, in other words, a complete failure. But what about in the last month or so? Gas prices have fallen at the pump last 50 plus days in a row. The jobs numbers are better than the Trump administration. My beloved MAGA audience is not going to like that. But even better than the Trump administration, whereas Trump, I believe, had about a 3.7 unemployment rate at his best. Biden is at 3.5. So he has bested Trump's numbers. So what do you think? Over the last month and a half, have you seen anything getting better, any sort of improvement at all under the Biden administration? I'm very, very curious to ask that question. Michael Ramsberg, you're saying it's propaganda. That's how we live in this country. Regardless of where you're getting your news from, it has propaganda filtered into it. You don't get any sort of news in this country without some propaganda involved. Because the midterms are coming, says, instead, if in regards to the midterms, yeah, you could be right. Could be right that they're making whatever happen because of the midterms. But make no mistake about it, it will have an effect. I mean, we were expecting a huge red wave. Is it possible that red wave could be going downwards toward a ripple? Or do we think the Republicans will trounce the Democrats in regards to what we have coming up in November? Your humble correspondent, yours truly, I think Roe versus Wade, rolling back Roe versus Wade was the worst thing that could have happened, at least in terms of the red wave. Looking at the comments here, Roe is here. Yeah, but what's happening, a la Kansas, the state of Kansas, is they're going from protected rulings in regards to Roe versus Wade to now headed towards solid legislation. So rolling back Roe versus Wade for some states is probably going to solidify the right to have an abortion. We'll make it stronger. Also, it's done the same thing when they codified marriage rights. Rolling back Roe versus Wade alerted the same-sex LGBT community, and now they've strengthened marriage rights. So we'll see what comes out of it. As they say, the best is still unwritten. There's more coming from this. When you fire 100 million cause of COVID and hire 300,000, not good. Jim Mack, I don't know if that tells the whole story. You said fired 100,000 cause of COVID. Did that happen under the Biden administration or did that happen under the Trump administration? Because we did shut down the country more than once. Timing is everything. Let's go, Brandon, says Young Conservative. Very common phrase. Forgiato Blow, Loza Alexander, two very popular songs. But what happens to Let's Go, Brandon, if Biden doesn't run in 2024? That whole thing falls apart. Blue all the way. Please wake up, says Big Man. Well, if you're going blue all the way, that would have an effect on that so-called red wave that's being expected. Tap the screens, get your boy up to 5,000 likes. You know how we do this all day, every day. And the box is open. Are things getting better under President Biden? That's what we're discussing right now. Over the last month or so, 6 weeks, have you not seen any sort of improvement in your life at all? Or is this guy just a complete, total, unobstructed fuck up? That's what we're asking. Any sort of improvement. Have you seen anything, the price of anything that you utilize in your life going down? Or has the economy and everything just been a complete miserable failure under the Biden administration? No improvement, says Young Conservative. Wow. Trump and Biden are both trash, says Brady Joe. Well, what if they're both on the ticket in 2024? Brady Joe, 07, you're saying Trump and Biden are trash. What if that's your Republican Democratic presidential ticket for 2024? What would you vote? You're going to write somebody in? You're not going to show up at all? What are you going to do? There is a possibility that you could have a runoff between these two men in 2 years. What would you do? Nope, he has made America look weak, says Michelle Petter. And I will go straight to the box, but in regards to Biden making America look weak, how about in the face of Vladimir Putin? Do you think that Biden looks weaker to Vladimir Putin and Trump? I'm curious to know that. Do you think America looks weak to China with Nancy Pelosi showing up, even with threat that they may shoot down our aircraft? I'm really curious about that. Looking in the comments, we talk often. Let's see what's going on. What's on your mind this afternoon, Guru?
What's on my mind? How wonderful America is. Like, I love my $6 gas. It's so good. It makes me feel
Where are
important that
you
I'm doing
at?
my
Where are
part.
you at paying $6 right now? Where are you located to pay
It's not
$6?
anymore. Well, it was up to 6, Brighton, Michigan. It's down to, well, 5, 4.89, somewhere in there.
Well, 4.89 is a big drop from 6. Do you credit Biden from that 6 to 4.89? I mean, obviously, when it went up to 6, it was Biden's fault. Now that it's 4.89, do you give him any credit for that?
Well, there's actually multiple things that come into play to force it down to 4.89. It's a stuttering American economy that's part of the problem. It's fallen. Consumption in general is down.
Were there any multiple things that forced it to go up to $6?
Yeah, closing the U.S. production lines. That's why. He killed the U.S. production and made us force foreign oil to be our consumption point. We were totally oil independent under Trump, and gas was $1.99 a gallon. And that's
I
the
guess
lifeblood for most businesses.
Fair enough. Okay, the point I'm trying to ask you, I suppose, is, okay, when it went up to 6, the issues you just listed, they are all Biden's fault. When it went down to 4.89, are all of the things that made it go down all Biden's responsibility?
Well, yeah, because I just stated the economy's in the crapper, and he's still the commander in chief, so supposedly, right? So if he's a supposed commander in chief, it good and bad goes. But is it good when it doubled already from the original point of coming in?
No.
Right. So yeah, fine. Instead of getting 30 ass whippings a day, we only get 25. Congratulations.
So in other words, you are saying that the country sucks right now, but it does appear as if Biden is making it get slightly better than his original screw up.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think the real pain's hit yet. Well, no, I don't think the real economic loss is hit yet. And they're already doing the narrative in the media to get everyone to be okay with the idea of a recession worse than the Depression. And it has to, because they printed $24 trillion in extra cash and they pumped it into the economy. Our economy's cash flow before was only like 4 or 5 trillion. They 6 times or 5 times our cash flow and jammed into the economy and want to spend it however the well they want. Well, that's inflation. Well, we haven't inflated to that level yet.
Let me ask you, we had 2 stimulus packages go out where they gave damn near everybody in the country at least $2,000 or more. The corporations got more than that. If Trump had been reelected in 2020, how was he going to stave off the financial disaster from doing that? How could he have stopped the economy from shooting up? Because obviously that money had to come from somewhere.
Right. So the money was printed, right? I mean, you know that the only way the money becomes our debt, our true debt as Americans, is when the U.S. Treasury gives the Federal Reserve Bank bonds for the money they printed. When Trump was president, he put a roadblock on the Treasury, and they still haven't removed it. That's why they're trying to get the head of the Treasury out now. And they said, well, we'll just add to the board. And that's not happening either, because they can't monetize the debt. Because if so, the national debt would be like $55 trillion instead of 30, because that 24 trillion would have made it into debt.
So do you think Trump was a big spender in adding to our national debt at all, or is this just, you see it under Biden?
He had a rule of 2 regulations for 1. So if they came forward and they wanted to add a new regulation, he says, well, show me 2 you've retired. And back to the COVID stuff, there's actually a video of him busting a billionaire that was playing games with the money. It was one of his buddies having this round table. He's thanking all these big companies for staying open. And he told him, he goes, didn't you take $150 million in emergency money for your business? And he's like, yeah, I did. Well, that should have covered all your employees, right? Well, not. He's spending on his NBA team to pay them their salary checks.
So
And,
how
and
do you
Trump and Trump
respond?
busted him on it. And Trump busted
Okay,
him on it in public television. It was awesome.
okay. So share information in the comments of suggesting that Trump added over 7 trillion to our national debt. How do you respond to that?
Okay.
You said he was not a big spender.
I don't. Okay, let's classify this. If you're looking to make some causality exchange commentary, like where haha this versus that, fine. But I'd ask you what did it get spent on? When Trump spent, it got spent on infrastructure jobs. It also got spent on a local level where it was actually benefactories to people. Go show me where the infrastructure work is still continuing from Biden. And now the most recent bill that they proposed to combat climate change, right? And they got that whole thing cooked in there because it's about graft. As much as you
Well,
like, just like Trump,
in regards to
here's my thought. Republicans and Democrats are the same. They figured it out a long time ago. So in my book, don't hang me up on any Republican dipshit because they've all played the game. I ran for office. I watched it. That's why I won't run until Trump came, not part of the program. Before this, he was a Joe business dude, did whatever else, but he was not a politician. And he's operated accordingly. Media spins it however you like. You want to make an argument because he makes you mad with his tweets, whatever. Bottom line is he treated that thing a business operation and cleaned up a lot of stuff that we benefited from as an economy. Our economy also grew
well,
almost $3 trillion under him now.
You're suggesting that Trump, in regards to Trump cleaning up stuff, let me ask you your own honest opinion. You can give him a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F. In regards to draining the swamp, which is something Trump promised, what letter grade would you give Trump in regards to fulfilling his promise of draining the swamp?
Probably a B.
A B as in boy.
Yeah, because he got to one point and hit the roadblock. Nobody helped him. Even his own party, they turned on him. You had guys like Mitt Romney dogging him out in public all the time. All these rhinos running their mouth.
You come to office suggesting that your own party is part of the swamp. How much help do you expect to get?
Well, the people that do support Trump, all the quote unquote MAGA people, we weren't party fans ever before. I have a cup. I go to the Republican meetings once in a while and it says Trumplican on it. Just intentionally to troll them because they don't like him. All the regulars don't like Trump. Why? Because he wanted to put an end to the graft thing.
What's confusing me is if you take office, to me, it's like if I came to your job and I told your boss, if you hire me, I'm going to help you get rid of all of your employment waste and the people who are sitting around lounging and living off your dime. If I get hired, if your boss hires me, the idea that your other coworkers are not going to work with me should be predictable. I'm admitting that if I come to your job and they hire me, I'm going to be an office snitch. So when Trump got hired, it should have been expected that nobody was going to work for him.
You can't. Let me ask you though. You can't get a message out if all the media doesn't take your call. You could show me when he had a chance to go free range. No way. Everything they would do, they would badmouth him. You know they would badmouth Trump all the time.
Wait a minute. You asked to show when Trump got a chance to be free range. Even Mike Huckabee stated, I could have won if I got as much free airtime as Trump did. CNN, MSNBC, everybody was putting Trump on the air on all his rallies, whereas all those other 17 Republicans that were running, they had to pay for airtime. Trump was getting it for free. So what do you mean they didn't give him any time?
I'm not talking about that. Let's talk about not getting to the job, in the job. You want to bring him be able to talk about the corruption that's in and around the swamp, and him getting on NBC Nightline or some other show that Joe Public watches, right? And they're watching this newscast. He didn't get sit down time like that. You can take what advice, but he didn't get that.
I don't get what you said. Repeat that.
So how is he going to get the message to the people of what he's trying to do to get ground support? Because you need ground support. How are you going to get that if he can't get the message out in mass of what's really going on? So he tweeted and he poked at people through that, right? And that got people to talk about him at least. Because if he didn't do that, no one would have talked about the guy. But he did it on purpose because then everybody talked about him.
I think you just answered your own question. You're stating that he had a hard time getting his point across and talking to the people, but then you admit everybody. Wait a minute.
In the mass media.
Okay, you're not letting me respond to you. Your point is that he was not being given fair time to get his point across to the media, but everybody was talking about his tweets, which makes it clear that everybody sees your tweets. So instead of tweeting negative stuff, why not use that avenue to get your point out to the people?
He did. Well,
Your point is you don't like
what I,
liberals, you don't like Black Lives Matter. The points he were getting out were negative stuff, is what I'm trying to get across to you.
I know, but if you go to the, I'm not going to go down to all the crap like that, but the bottom line, as far as it goes, if you've got a message and where the majority of the people that are not already your fans are, and you can't get what you need to them in a clean message, unedited, unspun, how are you supposed to communicate that? And it didn't stop him from doing what he could within the confines of the presidency as he was. And that's why I said he only got a B, because there's some things that we, the people, have to help him do.
So give me some
And there were a lot of
examples.
people that were asleep. A lot of people
If
were
you're
asleep, and they
giving him
still
a
are.
if you're giving him a letter grade of a B in regards to draining the swamp, give me some examples of swamp creatures that Trump drained.
Well,
B. A B is a pretty high
yeah,
grade.
yeah, well, I would have to say it's not a question of just one, because honestly, there's been quite a few. He blew out a bunch of the military DOD guys. There are several generals he let go that were involved in just basically pet projects, and he cleared them guys out. And exact names, dude, I don't memorize the names. Go research them. He canned some people. But if you want prominent people, then they're limelighted or whatever. Nobody got a perp walk. That's the point. None of them did.
Yeah. Well,
None of
when
them
you
did.
said
Diminished in
go
power, and there's
research
much
them.
to the swamp. Yeah, but there's much to the swamp. So I'll give you another example. This I can better state to, because I can't tell you individuals. The IRS, before Trump was in office, had 55,000 employees. The time that he was gone, they were down to around 8,000. The reason why is that they took away a bunch of people that in everybody's business that didn't need to be. So now I didn't get a whole factor of taxes in general, but the fact is, there's one where he reduced the burdenary regulatory amount of bodies. That's reducing swamp. Is it taking marching out one politician or another? That's a public battle he has to have every time. And he did with a few, and he got us out. He fixed our problems with NATO, which was a problem. We kept paying, and no one said anything. So then no one was paying their fair share. They are now. They're paying their share to the agreement for NATO, for example. There's other things he did to fix issues that were helping the people that were on the inside of the game and not helping we the people. And if you
Okay.
take it with an honest walkthrough, there's a bunch of things he's done. That's all relative to the swamp, but it's such a massive thing. 4 years ain't enough. I don't know if 8 years have been enough.
Well, you
That's my
can't
point.
make a promise. You can't make a promise that only works if you get 2 terms, because you're never guaranteed 2 terms. So your promises should involve what you can do in your first term. Then you can make the second promise in regards to your reelection campaign. But
So,
if your
so,
promise needs 8 years, then something's wrong.
so we'll go. Let's go to one that, like I said, all you people that think Trump suck, go look up Executive Order 13818. Go look it up and give a dictionary if you need to read it. But it speaks about human trafficking. All the presidents prior to him could have done the same damn thing. They didn't. So say whatever you want about him. He's made it a legitimate effort to put an end to it. There are 14 federal human trafficking task force in place. I know one guy that leads one of 5,000 members. They're out and hunting these kids that are being trafficked, and grown adult women that are being trafficked. They shut down the Silk Road website. He's done a lot of stuff,
I don't.
but
Let me
no
just
one
say
wants to give
this.
credit to any of that because Trump's
Okay,
bad. He's orange. He says
let me
mean
just
things.
say this. The only issue I have when you start talking about human trafficking and things like that, because I've talked to Wright and I've talked to the MAGA and I debate with Republicans all day, is that they started saying things like Hillary Clinton was involved in pedophilia and stuff like that. So to me, they took that too far. So I don't even like to have that conversation, because everybody on the left, from Will Smith to fucking Tom Hanks, was abusing children if you listen to the right. So I don't know where it begins and where it ends.
Well, there's stuff related to that most people won't stomach at all. And that's just
Yeah,
what it is. It's dark. It's
yeah.
the darkest thing humanity's ever done to itself. I have friends who are in the military. They took kids out of cages. They worked
Yeah.
underground in the
I'm just
dumbs.
simply saying,
It's the darkest stuff. It's the darkest stuff that America will ever have to face, and as she comes to a reckoning.
okay. All
She's
right,
coming to a reckoning in the years
that's
ahead.
fine. But I'm
But
just
all that
simply
aside,
saying,
back to Brandon, and all his handiwork, whatever. The time will tell. Bottom line, time will tell. And I
all
think
right,
time's told enough already with 2 years on who's done a better job
all
or
right,
not. Fair
all
enough?
right, man. Got to move it
All
on.
right. Right on.
Good
Talk to you
call.
later.
Catch you later.
Yep. Bye.
Yep, absolutely. All right, look, and like I said, I brought up I'll go right to the box, but I wasn't a fan of them accusing literally everything that represents the Democratic Party as abusing children. Anytime you got a laundry list of people that's that big and it just only consists of your opposing party or people in your party that you don't like, that shit looks biased, you know. And I saw somebody said the Bushes. Literally, it's just all my enemies. They're all abusing children. You know, I don't like this person, so I just say they're abusing children and demonize them. No different than calling every Republican a racist or calling every Democrat a socialist. You're just creating some bullshit to get people to hate these folks. So that's where it started affecting me. Same thing with the Epstein Island. Every single person that they mentioned on the list is a liberal. Okay, Trump was friends with the guy. Yeah, but he wasn't on the island. Just crazy stuff. I'm going to go back to the box, though. All right. Rough Dog, 1019. Always welcome. What's on your mind this afternoon, sir? Rough Dog, 1019. Good afternoon.
How you doing, sir? Hey, I just wanted to.
I'm doing good.
Good. Glad to hear that. I wanted to make mention of, you wanting to give Biden credit for the reduction in fuel prices that we've seen here recent. Okay.
Okay.
Can you actually honestly give credit to someone who broke it?
That's a real good. That's a good point.
Unless it's reduced to the starting point when he took presidency, he still is, because of his regulations and things that he done when he first got in office, is to blame for the increase in fuel prices.
Okay, let me ask it to you this way. Let's say you have a child that does not apply himself in school at all. His first semester, he gets nothing but F's. The second semester, toward the middle of the semester, he starts paying attention, and all of a sudden he gets a C or something like that because he's now applying himself. Do you not give him credit for turning around his curriculum?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But he started
that's what I'm suggesting is that even though Biden is nowhere near getting an A, he actually is turning things around. Do you not give him credit for that at all?
Well, in your example, though, the child started out with F's his first semester.
That's what you would give Biden. Right. I agree with that.
Okay. Biden started out with, say, low fuel prices. And because of his action, had increased the fuel prices. Okay. Not because of his inaction.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this: when you start out the first day of school, everybody gets an A. You have to not apply yourself to earn that F. Biden's been in office almost 2 years. If you look at the price of fuel and the economy and inflation a year ago, it's better now than it was then. So we're not talking about where it started out. We're talking about how low it went and how it's rebounding. Do you give him credit for the rebound at all?
No.
Okay. Then what's made fuel go down the last 50 days or so?
Supply and demand. Okay. The more people drive, the supply is higher, right? I mean, the supply is, you need more. Okay. Because of the high fuel costs, people aren't driving as much. So there's a little more gas because people can't afford to pay that. So they drive less. So the demand is less. The supply had increased a little bit. So cost comes down a little bit to get people to buy the gas. If they can't afford it, they're not going to drive. So there's going to be more gas in the market.
Let me ask you. Let me ask it to you this way. He goes over to Saudi Arabia, which was controversial, at least to many on the left, gives him a fist bump. The Saudis, they suggest or they promise to pump more oil. He comes home and fuel continues to drop after that visit with the Saudis where they promised to pump more oil. You don't give him any credit for that at all with getting the Saudis to promise to pump more oil?
No, because they haven't started producing more oil.
So the fuel price. So in other words, in your opinion, he's 100% responsible just about for fuel going up, but he has nothing to do with the fuel going down.
But the only thing that he did, but which is kind of a catch-22, is release a million gallons a day out of our strategic reserve, right?
Okay.
Okay, that's a plus and a minus. It does go into our direct market, but some of that reserve was also sold overseas. He released the oil into the market. It didn't all stay here to help us. It was sold partially to China and a few other countries. Our federal reserve, our strategic reserve, was sold to other countries. It wasn't just kept here. So it's a plus and minus. He released it into the market so it could potentially reduce some of the gas prices. Okay, that's a plus. But on the flip side of that, our strategic reserve is being depleted
Okay.
by 1 million barrels a day. So if anything strategic was to happen, that makes us more vulnerable because we can't supply our own in national defense and militarily and stuff like that.
Okay,
So it's kind of
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this in the comments. I just want to, because I like to read some of the comments and I see interesting things. Mom Moves Her Baby in the comments, interesting name, Mom Moves Her Baby, suggests that President Biden hates America. Do you submit to that as well? Do you believe the president, current commander in chief, he hates the country that he's leading?
No, I'm not going to say that he does. I don't think he does. I
I
just
just
don't
wanted
think
to ask that because they put it in caps, so I just wanted to ask that. And I see a few other commenters are also following up and saying, yeah. So you can see Biden, his moves causing our future. What about the jobs numbers? 3.5% lower than Trump. Do you give him any credit for those low job numbers, that low unemployment rate, historically low, by the way?
no, I don't give him credit for it.
So why did the jobs numbers come in so great in the middle of his term? What happened? What caused that?
Because the majority, a lot of your business owners and stuff, say your governors, started lifting the restrictions because they could see by the science and by the statistics that all the shutdowns and everything was BS. So they started lifting up those restrictions statewide per state and said, we can't do this. What is being federally mandated from the COVID, as we can't do this no more. Like Florida. Okay, Florida said, no, this is BS. The science isn't there. We're not doing what the federal government is saying we need to do. We are going to school. We are going back to work. The math is ridiculous, or the mask is ridiculous, and so on and so forth. And that kept their economy and their employment rates and stuff great. So once Florida being the test tube for that, everybody else said, you know what? DeSantis got a pretty good idea. Guys, let's get back up.
So if you're suggesting that Biden doesn't get credit for the low jobs numbers, but rather it's the businesses deciding to open back up, do you blame the businesses for when the numbers were bad for not opening back up sooner?
No, I blame in a sense, I blame the businesses for following the regulations that was being put forth by the federal government. The businesses, they say, okay, we got to follow federal guidelines. Okay. So we have no more indoor dining. The government says we can't have indoor dining. We can't have indoor dining. So now we got to get rid of half of our staff because we can't have indoor dining. So it's the business's fault for following something that wasn't necessary.
So you do blame Biden for shutting down the economy then, or shutting down the country rather, with COVID?
No, not originally. Okay, because all the science wasn't in when businesses started closing down. All the science wasn't in. There was not enough information to say 100% that this is the way to go. So when that started happening, Trump was in office.
Okay.
And but there wasn't enough science in.
Now, Trump, I'm going to switch this, and we're talking about COVID, and you mentioned Trump. Early in the pandemic, Trump is on video suggesting that COVID would go away by April. You mentioned all the science not being in. Do you hold him at fault for saying something like that?
No, because he was going based on what he knew at the time.
But you just admitted all the science was not in. What did he know that led him to believe COVID would just go away in a couple months?
I don't know what he knew or when he knew it.
Right. Or if he knew it at all. So that's what I'm asking you is when he said COVID would go away in a few months and you don't even know what he knew, you don't fault him for making a statement like that, which historically has been proven to be incredibly incorrect. COVID is obviously still around years later. You don't hold him accountable for that misgiving at all?
I don't know. He's speaking his mind granted at the time he's president, yes. And when he speaks his mind, it holds more weight than what we do when we speak our mind.
Well, yeah, but don't you hold him responsible for if you speak your mind, you got to be correct. You don't. I mean, he can speak his mind whether it's true or not. You're okay with that?
You can speak your mind whether you're correct or not.
I'm not the leader of 330 million people, sir.
I understand that, but he's still a person, regardless whether he's in that position or not. Everybody still has a right to speak their mind, whether it's correct or not.
Do you not hold him to a higher level of accountability at all? He can talk like any other person roaming the street. You don't give him any type of hierarchy in regards to verbal accountability?
Policy-wise, yes. Okay. But as far as common speech, he's no different than anyone else. Neither is Biden. They're still humans. They're still United States citizens. It's just they hold an elected position. Okay. Now, if they're speaking their mind on policy is another thing.
But speaking your mind and when you got access to the number one virologist, which happened to be Dr. Fauci, when you're in control of the CDC, when you're in control of the World Health Organization, and you go on television and you tell the people in regards to an unknown illness that it'll be gone by April, you think it's just speaking his mind and he's free to do that, whether it's right or wrong. There's nothing, you don't hold him accountable for that at all.
Well, if he's taking information that's given to him by Dr. Fauci, who, it has flip-flopped so much, he looks like a fish on the bank. Masks aren't required. You know what I'm saying? Masks aren't required. Masks ain't going to help. Okay, now you got to wear masks. Okay, now you got to wear 2 masks. Now you got to wear 3 masks. So he's taking information that's given to him. Okay.
Yeah. So if Dr. Fauci did not have a clue what he was talking about, Trump's holding rallies where everybody's yelling, fire Dr. Fauci. Can you explain to me why Trump would then leave the rallies and go on television and let Dr. Fauci continue speaking in his presence for about a month or 2 straight? If the guy don't know what he's talking about, why are you on TV with him? Do you not hold him accountable for that?
Yes. If there's one major mistake Trump made was leaving Fauci in that position. I do agree.
All right.
I do hold him accountable.
Somewhere. Okay. We're getting somewhere now. All right. I got to move it on, though, man. I appreciate talking to you.
It's nice talking to you, man. Gotta love you.
Absolutely. Welcome back anytime. Okay. Listen, we're not always going to agree. I don't submit to any president getting on television and saying an illness is going to go away within a few months if you don't have enough evidence to suggest it's going to go away in a few months. But he differs. Let's go with Henry Jones. And I do appreciate you guys that are holding. Conversations can be good at times. Get your boy likes up. Henry.
Hey. Afternoon. What's going on, my brother? What's going on? How you doing today?
Nothing at all. Were you listening to my previous caller?
Man, I'm trying to figure out where you find these people. I've dealt with that same thing when we were running Obama's campaign and doing all this. Obama inherited a shit show.
That is true. That is true.
Turned it completely around in 2 years. Because I heard your comment that you said before. Why are you gonna make a promise that's gonna take you 8 years when you're not promised to get that second term?
That is true.
Okay, so in 2 years, Obama took the shit show that George W. Bush put in, turned that all the way around, had the economy booming, saw something coming, put put in an entire task force of people, a pandemic task force. During Obama, we went through 3 pandemics. A lot of people don't know this. We went through 3 pandemics with Obama. We went through Ebola.
What were they? Ebola? What were they? What was those 3? I do know but they weren't anywhere near to the level of COVID, though.
One of them,
swine flu and some of that shit, they weren't nowhere near to the level of COVID.
One of them was a COVID, because what a lot of people don't realize is this is the first time we've had COVID. SARS and MERS were both COVID. They're both corona. So Obama had those 3 things to face with. But what did he do? He got ahead of the problem. He saw it coming. He had a task force of people that were experts that knew that job. Obama is not a virologist. He's a lawyer. So why would he sit there and say, well, I know how to fix these pandemics? No, I know what I know, and I know that I'm smart enough to go get people that know more than I know about this subject.
So if you had to put the Obama administration, even though he got 8 years, if you put him up next to Trump, who do you think was more successful in regards to promoting America, better economy and things like that, Obama or Trump?
Obama was better. Obama would have been better than Trump if Obama had only had 1 day.
Wow. Okay. I would throw Biden. Let's take Obama out, because obviously you have a high regard for Obama. What about Biden compared to the Trump administration?
Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of criticism about Obama. I worked on his campaign, though, in Iowa when I lived in Iowa. I live in Phoenix, Arizona now. But I worked on his campaign in Iowa. Believe me, there's a lot of things that Obama could have done better.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Obama was the first presidency ever in the history of America where an entire party, first of all, tried to delegitimize his birth in this country, so that, he can't run because he's not a natural born citizen. Where's his birth certificate? Where is all this? Okay, he provided that. They still kept going with it.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of comeback for that. I've brought that up anytime I get my MAGA folks, my beloved MAGA audience that I prefer speaking with. When they point out that Trump never was given a shot from day one, I always rebut and say it's probably had a lot to do with how you treated the guy before you, suggesting he wasn't born in the country. Then right before you became president, admitting, yes, he was born in the country, and did not apologize for all of those years of doing that. So, yeah, I don't have any defense for that. That was really wrong for him to try to delegitimize Obama in that manner.
But let's look at the difference between the way Obama handled it and the way Trump handled it. Now, Obama had the entirety of all conservative news media, and I use the word news lightly, in quotes, all of them were against him. The entire Congress, every Republican in Congress and the Senate, no matter what he did, put a roadblock in front of whatever he did. But did he bitch?
Let's skip up to Biden. Now, Obama's long gone. Let's skip up to Biden. I'm asking the question right now in regards to how gas prices and things like that are coming down. Do you give Biden any credit for potentially turning things around? Or do you think the falling gas prices are something that's outside of his control?
No, I absolutely give him credit. I give him credit for bringing them down. I criticize him for some of the things he did in the beginning that took them up. However, the gas prices in this country are not controlled by the federal government. Anyone who has taken a basic civics class, a basic one, the first time I ever took civics, I wasn't even in school yet. I was watching Schoolhouse Rock.
I'm just a Bill. I remember that. Okay.
Because it taught you how the government worked. So the president has absolutely nothing to do with the gas prices going up or the gas prices coming down. Now, I have
to speak. Wait a minute. I got to speak to you on this because I did a video about this. When gas prices were going up, Biden was suggesting it was the war in Ukraine. Raising gas prices were globally happening everywhere. It wasn't just in the United States. The minute gas prices started dropping, he and Kamala are on television taking credit for it. So either he controls gas prices or he does not. He himself was taking credit for falling gas prices. Why is that if he has no control over it?
Because every single president to ever sit in that White House has taken credit for something they had absolutely nothing to do with.
We can live with that. Playing politics. Okay, fair enough.
Of the president. That is what you're supposed to do. Let's see.
The jobs number. The jobs number.
Great.
Is that his fault?
The job number? Absolutely. The job numbers going up there? Absolutely. Because here, let me tell you about the job numbers. Because I was listening to that other guy. Okay.
Right.
And he talked about, well, the gas prices are due because of supply and demand. Yeah. No. Supply and demand is because we still get our oil from a place called OPEC, which is a cartel. It's in the name. The C in OPEC means cartel. Okay.
I know that.
That's what Oil Producing Alliance Cartel, I believe it is. Okay. That's exactly what it is. So our prices are controlled when the oil producing companies decide we're going to put out more oil, the price goes down. When they decide we're going to hold back oil, the price goes up. Now, the only place that the president, there's only 2 times the president can control the gas prices. That is A, if he makes an executive order to introduce more gas into the system, or B, he signs a bill that Congress did to lower gas prices. The president doesn't make laws. Congress does.
So in other words, the rising gas prices he had nothing to do with. But you did admit he also has nothing to do with them dropping, that he's taking credit for. What the 3.5% job numbers, historically low, even lower than Trump. Does he get any credit for that, according to you?
Absolutely. And here's why. I'll explain to you why. Sure. The unemployment rate went up drastically during COVID.
Right.
Okay. Trump's numbers were 3.8 or 3.9%. Very good. I give him credit for that. I hate the man, but I give credit where credit is due. Okay. And he did that. 3.8, that's great. The economy, great. But if I take his numbers and Biden's numbers, those were Trump's numbers after 4 years. Biden's numbers beat Trump numbers. He hasn't even been in office 2 years yet.
Wow, I like this. It could be considered a spin, but I like it. Keep going.
Because one thing that I base everything on is I base nothing on truth. I base everything on facts. And people don't know the facts.
What is the difference between truth and facts? I got to move it on, but you got to explain that.
I will explain that to you. Okay, a fact is something that is absolute, that cannot be changed, that everyone has come to a consensus that's what it is. It's a fact that the sun is hot. That's a fact.
Okay. And that's not the truth?
It's not the truth, because there's some people that don't even believe that their truth is the sun doesn't even exist. That's their truth. A truth you believe. That's a truth. Fact is something that's provable. Big difference.
I've never heard this described in that manner. I got to move it on, but that's a very interesting, a unique way. I've never heard of those two things separated like that.
That's the truth. I'm better looking than Denzel Washington. The facts are that ain't true.
I gotta go. Good one. Catch you later.
One day, man. Come to my live one day.
Absolutely. I've been trying. I got you. I'll find you. All right. Okay, real quick. The fact and the truth. There are differences between the fact and the truth. I'm learning. And I see your comment there, no more strange fruit. You like that guess. I liked them all, so you gave them the win. Look, let me make it also clear. I like hearing from the folks. That's why I prefer talking to MAGA. I make that clear all day, every day. My goal is not to win. So sometimes when we're having a good debate back and forth, W host, W guest, I'm fine with your input. I appreciate your input, but my goal is never by any means to defeat the guest or anything of that nature. I just want to hear your points. I like for folks to get in here, and we don't censor anything. We let you state your points. And you guys can judge and come to your conclusions as you will. Going back to the box, Logic and a friend of the program. We talked a few times. Talk to me, Logic. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Can you hear me? It's not showing my
Loud
face.
and clear, ma'am.
That's weird.
Loud and
I
clear.
don't know if anyone can see me. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, your video's not on. It doesn't matter, but I can hear you loud and clear.
It's not working. Okay. Anyways, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could finally make it.
Sure.
So wanted to touch on a few points. First, I think we could go back and forth and talk about like which president is better all day long, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because we are where we are, regardless of what they did or didn't do. I think it's
Well, wait a minute. I will tell you this in regards to it. If you're talking about Obama, yeah, it doesn't matter because he's never coming back. But we
right.
got one guy that's trying to come back again. So to
Right.
some degree, it does matter.
It does. And I think it can be productive in determining like what's going to be the right path forward for America. But I think we need to be real honest with ourselves that no recent president has truly sought out to serve the American people. If they did, we'd be closing corporate tax loopholes. We'd be trying to reduce taxes on the American people. More accountability for federal spending, term limits for Congress.
Well, when you're leading a country, when you're commander in chief of a country that has as many people in it as ours do, you're never going to please everybody. So when you say closing tax loopholes and things like that, they are doing what a certain segment of America wants them to do. You can't please everybody. So if you give tax cuts to the wealthy, that's probably where your base is. If you give tax cuts or you help out the poor, that's probably where your base is. But you can't help the rich and the poor simultaneously. Somebody's going to be pissed off.
I agree. But can you agree that probably majority of Congress and Senate are beholden to special interest groups, certain corporations, etc.?
Yeah. If you get into Congress and you're not beholden to some type of entity, you're not going to keep your job. Because you can either take the money I'm giving you to pass what I want, or I can give it to your opponent. You make the decision. That's how it's going to work.
I agree. I would argue that's a major flaw in our system. If we truly wanted to dig into campaign financing, contributions, etc., I think it could help immensely, but that's going to be an uphill battle. But another thing I wanted to touch on, if you don't mind, is the oil and gas pricing.
Sure.
OPEC is a portion of the pricing, yes, but we don't get our oil and gas from OPEC. It's produced here in the United States, if that makes sense. OPEC is a conglomerate of nations. I can't even remember the number of nations, but there's a lot of factors in the oil and gas pricing. And I think this has been honestly a win for the US because we've had to learn about commodity pricing, and oil and gas commodity pricing is a complex topic.
You're suggesting that none of the fuel in America comes by way of OPEC. Only we produce our own.
Some does, but he said we get it from OPEC. We produce quite a bit here in the United States.
Now, I'm going to plead ignorance on this. I don't know, but I will ask you as far as your own personal knowledge. What percentage of the fuel here in America comes from OPEC?
That's a good question.
I thought it was the opposite of what you're saying.
That majority comes from OPEC?
Yes. I was under the impression that we were keeping our fuel for strategic reserve. So if a war broke out or something, we would have oil, and we were buying it and importing it from abroad. But most of our fuel, if I'm correct, was coming from abroad. But let me know where I'm getting it wrong.
Utilize a day as far as how much we import. So we utilize about 19.78 million barrels a day in the United States. And we produce 19.78 million barrels a day here in the United States.
Okay.
So from my understanding, like when Trump was in office, we became an close to energy independent country. And so we do produce quite a bit of our own oil and gas here. Now, as far as what's imported, I'd have to look, but I don't know. Do people not know we produce our own oil and gas?
No, we all know that. I mean, obviously, everybody knows there's oil in Texas. You've seen the Beverly Hillbillies theme song when it comes on. there's clearly oil in the United States, but I was under the impression, certainly with Biden going to get the Saudis to produce more oil, I'm under the impression that OPEC plays a bigger part in our oil supply than what you were saying. I could be wrong, but that's the way I viewed it.
So we import, it looks like 6.11 million barrels per day, and we produce 16.58 million barrels per day. So we
Yeah,
produce
but how
a
much?
huge amount. How much what?
Okay, now I was going to say, how much are we using though? I mean, are we producing?
19.78.
Okay, and we importing six point. So in
11.
other words, we're importing about a third of it.
Yeah. And so
That's a
some of
lot.
I agree. Now I will say I never said OPEC doesn't impact pricing. OPEC definitely impacts pricing. That's what I'm saying. But we don't get all of
Okay,
our oil and gas from OPEC. Does that
all
make
right.
sense?
It's
So
starting
yes,
to. So in other words, do you give Biden credit for the 50 days or so fuel has been going down? Do you believe any of that is Biden's fault? Is he the one causing fuel prices to drop?
I don't think you can avoid responsibility for the price increase and take credit for the price decrease. That's not how that
I don't
works.
either. I don't
That's
either.
not how
But
that works.
also that works vice versa. Like to my Biden detractors, and I got an audience full of them, to folks who do not like Biden, if
Mm-hmm.
you gave him credit for prices increasing, it's exactly the opposite of what you're saying. If you give him credit for prices increasing, you got to give him credit for prices decreasing. I'm
I
one who believes, just like a coach on a sports team, whatever happens under your tenure is your responsibility. You don't get to blame the quarterback or somebody else. If your team wins, you get credit. If they lose, you get credit.
agree, and I think he had a portion of blame in the oil and gas increases when he put that moratorium when he first came into office with that executive order for new federal land leases. It gives a signal to the market regarding investing in U.S. oil production. So maybe a portion. There could be arguments made that policies do affect it. Here in Colorado, we have pretty heavy state regulation around oil and gas. We're a pretty large
Right.
producer here in Colorado. That does affect production when you have state
Right.
governments directly limiting, because there's obviously leases on federal land, but you also have to look at private land, et cetera. The other thing that goes into it is supply and demand. Supply and demand absolutely affects oil and gas prices. It does.
What about the
Um,
jobs numbers? What about the jobs numbers? 3.5% historic 50-year low. Do you give him credit for the current low unemployment rate? 3.5%, even beat Trump. Do you give him credit for that?
I can't point to a policy that has resulted in that, so I can't say either way. I don't know enough on it, to be honest. I'll be honest there. So I'm not going to say yay Biden or nay Biden on that.
So what do you think of his presidency overall? If you had, based on a couple years in office right now, if you had to give him a letter grade in Colorado, how successful or much of a failure do you see him? If you had A, B, C, D, or F, what would you give Biden as a
I
letter
give
grade
him
for what he's done?
I give him a C.
Okay, about average. That's about an average grade.
Probably, well, okay, C minus then. See, I guess I'm like an
Okay.
overachiever, so in my mind B is like average.
I
So C
I
minus.
can't hate on a woman. I can't hate on a woman that's an overachiever. What about Trump? What letter grade would you have given him?
B minus.
D as in David or B as in boy?
B as in boy.
Okay. All right. So the Trump presidency or Trump administration was better than Biden is what you're saying. And I
And I'm
guess I'd
purely
have
going
to
off
put
that. I'm going off that based off, where our economy was.
the numbers. Yeah, the
Yeah.
numbers.
And Trump did have a shit sandwich to deal with COVID, and I'm not going to say he handled it well. I'm not going to say that, but I think there are certain things that I respected that he did with China, and some, we did have peace in the Middle East. There's just certain, I would say, points that you have to consider in that. But there is division. I think he was a child on social media. I didn't respect him in that case. I don't think he held himself or spoke like a president in many cases. But then you have to look at Biden, and there's a lot. The border. I just can't. There's just a lot of, I think, bamboozling going on as far as not taking accountability for certain issues that are quite obviously there. That's what I struggle with.
And I respect your statement. So I'm curious then, with giving Biden a C minus, Trump a B minus. I had to throw in Obama. I'm just curious, what did you think of the Obama administration then?
I wasn't super into politics. So I graduated college in 2008, and I'll be brutally honest, I didn't pay attention much until probably 2019. I started to pay attention.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't like to speak on things I don't know.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But we do tend to ad-lib here, and we speculate on a lot of issues. So we're looking at 2 more years of Biden. Are you a fan of bringing Trump back in 2024?
No.
Why not?
I don't think he's the right man for the job right now. I think our nation is so divided right now and such a mess that people can't even have conversations. That's why I respect you and I follow you, is I appreciate that you're open to having respectful discourse and encouraging that. We need more creators that do that. But no, I don't think he's the right guy for the job. Honestly, I think it's just going to create more division.
So in other words, you think he's too divisive?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. All right. All right. Fair. Anybody that you think might be a good person for that job?
I'm gonna get railed on in the comments for saying this, but
okay. That's what we do here. Go for it.
I'll give you two. DeSantis, because I think he puts action where his mouth is. To be honest,
you're not going to get well done. My audience is going to love that. That's the second choice behind Trump. Give me your other person.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh shit. Tulsi Gabbard? Oh no. I'm down with it. Even though I'm a liberal, I do believe DeSantis could potentially lead us in the right direction. Tulsi Gabbard, to me, she's similar to Candace Owens, where her claim to fame is just from one thing. Tulsi Gabbard, her claim to fame is she trounced Hillary Clinton in a debate. Just like Candace Owens' claim to fame is holding black people accountable for every negative thing they do. Outside of that, I don't know where else to go with her. I got to wrap it up, but I'll give you the last word. Go ahead.
So what I do respect about her is she's not afraid to go in on Capitol Hill and basically say, you guys, this is why you're doing this. This is ridiculous. This is outlandish. This is against the Constitution, etc. So I'll appreciate her voice. I don't think presidency. I could see VP, but I do think Ron DeSantis could get us to a better place if people are going to be open to his policies and not the demonizing of him in the media. I'll say that.
Liz Cheney. Before I let you go, Liz Cheney. What do you think of her? She's not afraid.
Oh God, no, she's not afraid. I think, like you said, her claim to fame. Like, I think she saw this as an opportunity, and I don't know that she has a whole lot of integrity. I think she's doing this obviously for political reasons, and she's riding that train, and she can, wherever that leads her, we'll see in the fall.
Her whole career is over with. Political reasons, her whole career is going down the tank for this. All right, appreciate you coming through. Come on back to anytime.
Right. See ya.
Good talk. Okay, Liz Cheney doing it for political reasons. I would be curious to see where that ends up going. And I see somebody in the comments defenses Sarah Palin. That ship has sailed. I don't think they're going to. Even John McCain, at least according to his daughter, Meghan McCain, stated that was a horrible pick to pick Sarah Palin. Some of the crazy ass things she said. So apparently even John McCain later admitted that was a bad choice. Mr. Denzel. I can't argue. Mr. Denzel, new caller, I believe. How are you doing, sir? No, you're real echoey.
What's up? Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Can you hear me?
You're real echoey. Yeah, but you're like really echoey.
Okay. Okay. Give me a minute.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're in an empty room. Looking in the comments. Go ahead. Yeah, it sounds like you're in an empty room. Looking in the comments. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. I am an African, and honestly, an African who really loves Republican Party and Donald Trump, to be precise.
Why do you love? What about the Republican Party do you love?
They are very conservative. They believe in rule of law. They believe in controls. And I have a belief that is how we build society. Society is such that there should be, yes, sir, there should be laws, and the laws should be, should be respected. not tolerated. And I see a lot of that in Republican Party. So even though I live in Africa, I really pay attention to American politics, and I really love the Republican Party. So I don't know, if I was born an American, definitely my vote will go for them. And Trump, I really like him. I really like that man, because I feel that being an American president, the obligation is beyond just America. God didn't put America in charge for anything. That's my belief. They are
What
the
about
icon
Trump?
for
What
world
about Trump
democracy.
suggesting that he believes in America first? A lot of echo here.
Absolutely. American first, yeah. I mean, every human being is selfish, man, and charity begins at home. You can't tell me if there are problems in your house and then you come to my house to solve my problem. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't
Okay.
work like that. So, American first, I respect that. I am an African. If you see my picture, blue, black African, you understand? But it's all about what he had on the table. What he had on the table. I don't care about his personality and his beliefs. I am
Yeah,
beyond
wait
that,
a
man.
minute.
He
Wait a
made the
minute.
world the most safest
Okay, wait a
place.
minute.
Okay.
That's you that doesn't care about his personality. If you're the president of the whole country, how do you look when you ignore a large portion of people that does care about his personality?
Okay. Come again. Sorry. Come again.
Okay, you got an echo. Apparently, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have. Because for some reason he got a really bad echo to the point where he can't even hear me. Try and come back again, and we'll try it again. But you got a real welcome.
What's going on, man?
He is broke. Yeah, good afternoon, sir. We're talking about the gas prices coming down and the economy making a slight turnaround. Do you give Biden any credit for any of this?
I don't really, nor do I really fault anybody for it going up. Everybody seems to be looking at it through the wrong lens, in my opinion.
So the gas prices went up and it was nobody's fault?
So these gas companies are beholden to their stockholders.
Okay.
They experienced ridiculous lows during the shutdown, during the close down. Gas prices were ridiculously low.
So you're attributing it to gouging, basically.
They got to get their money back.
So why are they going down now then? So who do you attribute the prices falling to then?
They've got their gouge in. They've made their stockholders happy. Now they have to make the consumers happy.
So you're saying the gas companies themselves. So what about
up as well?
Okay. So what about the jobs numbers? Who do you give credit to for that? 3.5% jobs numbers. Whose responsibility is that?
I mean, so I'm a lifelong bartender, and we have gone through a hiring phase because things have finally started to calm down. Yeah, we were the first ones shut down. When the shutdown happened, we were the first crew shut down.
Okay.
And we had to do a very similar thing. When we reopened, a drink that used to cost you $5 had to cost you $6.50 because there was a year's worth of money that was missed.
So you don't the current economy we're in right now, the fluctuation of it, the ups and downs, the roller coaster we're on, you don't really see Biden as being responsible for any of the good or the bad of it. It's outside forces.
Yeah, I mean it's the economics of it. People.
So how do you think Biden as a president? So in other words, how do you think Biden as a president is doing if you take the economy out of his judgment? 2 years in office so far. How do you think he's even doing then?
I'm not necessarily the biggest fan, but I understand the role of the president. The primary role of the president is, dealing with foreign diplomats, dealing with foreign countries. That's his primary role. Congress's role.
How do you think he's doing on that in terms of our relations overseas with foreign countries, as you pointed out? How do you think he's doing with that?
I think Trump made it real easy for him to be looked upon in a higher regard than he was as far as the rest of the world.
How so? Give me elaborate on that.
I mean, when you go from a president who's getting laughed at behind his back to a president that's somewhat taken seriously. Notice China made all them threats, but Nancy Pelosi made it there and back in one piece, correct?
That is correct. But what about the
Okay.
notion that my audience, who's primarily MAGA, suggests that it is Biden that makes us look like the laughing stock and Trump projected strength on the stage worldwide? So why do you see it total opposite of what they're suggesting?
Who's attacking us? Has anybody put sanctions on us? I don't see anything that's. Show me where another country is looking at us as being weak. Didn't we take out another?
Nobody was attacking us under.
Another.
Yeah, but nobody was attacking us under Trump either.
True, but I mean, one of the first things he did is he hit what you call it with that Moab bomb.
You talking about Syria?
That's kind of a. Yeah, that's kind of a. Oh, okay. He's not
people
afraid
nodding with the galaxy. Thank you there. Okay, so you don't think that Biden makes us look like the laughing stock? You actually think his relations with the world, in terms of our friends, I don't want to say our adversaries, but in terms of with our allies, he's actually made us look better because you're suggesting that Trump lowered the bar so damn low.
Yeah, he didn't make it. He didn't make it hard for the next person to hop over. Until there's a situation where there's an actual. Until there's a situation where there's an actual test of the strength of relationships, and maybe there's been one that I've missed, but I haven't really seen an actual. Okay, well, these guys used to be our allies, and now they're not messing with us, and it's because of the actions that Mr. Biden has taken, or President Biden has taken.
Okay. What about
I don't
just our? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what about just our nation as a whole, a well-run machine? Who do you think was better at? Do you think Trump is better at doing that than Biden, or vice versa?
That's a damn good question.
Well, it's interesting that you're hesitant on it though, because most of my viewers have a snappy answer for it. The fact that you're really weighing it out, and I honor you for doing it that way, but usually it's a pretty quick answer.
I mean, through the media lens, Trump did and said, granted, sound bites can be taken as they're taken, of a lot of extremely divisive things. There's a lot of credit that he took, like, for example, giving money to the HBCUs. He didn't give money to the HBCUs. That contract needed to be renewed, and it got renewed, and it was Congress that did it. He'd have been an asshole if he didn't sign the bill. That's all he did.
Now, that's an interesting point, because that is by far one of the most popular statements when it comes to defending Trump with African Americans, is donating money to HBCUs. And you're suggesting that he really gets no credit. He really didn't do that at all. It was done by Congress. I hear that quite often with that. So,
and that's the truth of it, is that it was done by Congress. It was a bill that was passed by Congress.
Yeah, but he had the option not to sign it, right? He had the option not to sign it, correct?
And then what kind of asshole do you look like? Then you have actual ammunition to say that, ooh, he don't really care about black folks.
So what do you think? Okay, with him signing that, the fact that he did sign that, because you're an African American, obviously, what do you think in regards to Trump and his relationship to African Americans? A lot of black folks do believe he's intolerant. Do you think that is made up and unwarranted? Or do you believe there's legitimate reasons, even with him signing that, to view him as intolerant?
With the research that I've done, I don't know that I can necessarily say that I've found anything that was 100% blatant. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or
70%?
100% intentional.
70%?
Give me an example, and I'll give you my opinion on
it.
I'm
asking. I'm asking you. You said you can't find anything 100%, but do you have anything that's suspect or that makes you wonder?
So suspect would be the stand down, stand by.
What did you take that comment? How did you view that comment? Stand by. I understand what you're talking about. Stand down and stand by. It was on T-shirts and everything. How do you view that comment?
I view that comment as a just wait. It's not time now. you guys are making a little bit too much noise. I need y'all to chill out and then be ready to go when it's time to go. And I don't think he was just specifically speaking towards the Proud Boys per se. I think he was speaking to everybody that he knew would ride with him when the time was right.
So in the audience, someone suggested that I ask you about Biden. Do you see Biden as having any of those intolerance tendencies in him at all?
So everybody likes to go back to the crime bill. I'd like to remind folks that the crime bill that he put out was not necessarily the best, but if it had been used in its entirety as it was meant to be, there was a lot of money that was earmarked for recovery plans, help for people with drug problems. There was a lot of money that was earmarked in that plan that when Republicans took over the next year, they moved that money away from it.
Vote for me or you ain't black. Vote for me or you ain't black. How did you take that?
I took that as that was a conversation between him and Charlemagne, and he and Charlemagne have a relationship that goes beyond what was just said in that. And I think
did you take it as being intolerant? Did you take that comment as being intolerant in any way? Okay, all right.
No, I just took that as regular old shit talking. You know what I mean? Hey man, you don't do this, you ain't black. It goes around way more often now. Again, did he get in a little bit of a trouble because he was that polarized individual that's going to run the United States? Absolutely. And everything gets nitpicked. Nothing really gets taken at face value. Everything gets a spin put on it.
In other words, it was locker room talk is what you're saying.
I like the way you did that.
Hey, I gotta ask. You know how we do. I gotta ask. So,
if that's exactly what you want to call it, that's what it is. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And he was talking to an individual. He wasn't talking to the entirety of the black population. But that's how it was taken.
Okay, fair point. Hey, I like it. Okay, well, I gotta move it on, man. Appreciate you coming in.
All right, brother.
All right, absolutely. Good talk. Come on back through anytime you want. All right, looking in the comments real quick. Democrats view black folks. Biden is not making the decisions. Well, then why is he getting all the blame? Jody. And Trump said to the blacks, what do you have to lose? He did say that, Angel. In my opinion, your humble correspondent here, regardless of what the African-American community thinks of Trump now or even then, fact is, unlike previous conservative candidates, he did address us. A lot of us didn't like what he had to say, but he did speak directly to blacks. And the end result is Trump actually garnered more black votes than any other president in most of our lifetime. I've said it before several times. If it's one thing that hurts the Republicans and conservatives with black people is just simply lack of outreach, not speaking to us at all. Trump spoke, and there were plenty of blacks who what he had to say was resonating with. Most of them are just talk at us. What we do is best for you, and you should be smart enough to know that. And that's it. He spoke directly to blacks. I mean, whether you're talking about Lil Wayne or Kodak Black or some of these folks, or the Kardashians and Kanye West. Well, Kardashians, we can say they're black. They're pseudo-black. But you get the point. And most Republicans don't do that. So regardless of how you feel about President Trump or how the African-American community feels about him talking to the black community did net him some benefits. Going back to the box, facts. Facts matter. Afternoon.
So, to your original question.
Facts. Are you there?
I'm there.
Sure.
I don't see any countries building baby balloons for Biden.
I do remember that in London with the diaper on of Trump. I do remember that. Keep going.
I don't see. We haven't seen any world leaders gathered together gossiping and laughing at the president.
I do remember that, the Gang of Eight and all of them. Yeah. Wow. Okay. What about the Israelis? I would assume the Israelis like Trump. The Israelis like Trump better than Biden. Would you not think that? Netanyahu?
Well, authoritarians like authoritarians, so I mean, no surprise there.
Okay, all right, okay, keep going.
And let's not forget, there's my black.
Did he say that?
Oh yeah, there was a rally, and there was like one black guy in the whole crowd, and he actually was a Trump supporter, and he became not a Trump supporter after that. And Trump pointed to him and said, "There's my black."
Oh my God. So now obviously you're not black, but do you see Trump as intolerant towards African Americans or towards minorities at all?
Sure, except when he's pandering.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, Kanye West, he later used as a tool to um, run and siphon off some Democrat votes, which that didn't work out well.
No, that didn't work out at all.
No, and it was just fishy all the way around, and shame on Kanye.
Wait a minute, though. Let's go before Kanye. Steve Harvey and Ice Cube, the rapper, also tried to work with Trump. There were people approaching Trump before Kanye West.
Well, when somebody's in charge, you might have to deal with them. That doesn't mean they liked him.
Okay. So you do see him as intolerant. Okay. All right. What about Biden? Do you see any intolerance out of Biden?
I see in his career, he's had moments that he said dumb things, but as far as actually being intolerant, I don't think so. I mean, he jumped on board with the first black president. That doesn't lend to show that he's intolerant.
I get a lot of MAGA. My audience is primarily MAGA, and I get a lot of MAGA that suggest that Biden is racist. I mean, none of them are minorities for the most part, but I do get a lot of MAGA that suggest that Biden is the intolerant one.
Well, if they're going to come to the table talking, they need to wipe the orange from their lips first.
Oh my God. I don't even want you to elaborate on that. Do you think that a resurgence of Trump in 2024 would benefit the country? I mean, because the economy under Biden is nothing to joke about. We get the economy has gotten worse. Do you think at least Trump could turn the economy around for this country?
Well, hell no. I mean, no. I mean, the inflation has nothing to do with Biden. And if it is, he's one hell of a powerful man. I mean, there's inflation in every major country. So, I mean, is Biden controlling that?
Well, he is the leader of the free world. When you say he's one hell of a powerful man, that is
true.
true.
And I got chickens, and just because one of them cracks open one of their eggs and eats it doesn't mean I'm responsible for that.
I don't know where you're going with that, but I think I get that. Okay. So in regards to not being responsible, 3.5% unemployment numbers, the lowest in 50 years under the Biden administration. Is he responsible for that? Biden. Is Biden responsible for his own unemployment numbers?
To some extent, sure. I mean, he's promoted all kinds of things. I mean, the infrastructure plan alone is going to put more people to work.
Okay. So, in other words, you actually think Biden, just from your own opinion, how do you think Biden is doing as president? You think he's doing a fairly good job?
He's doing a pretty damn good job. He's getting a black eye just because people are downtrodden because of the inflation. But the inflation is caused by the pandemic. It's also being caused by companies taking advantage of that situation and raising prices more than they need to. Oil did the same thing. They're making money hand over fist. And when they went to Congress, they blatantly said, we have no reason to drill more. We're making fat cash, and we're giving our stockholders kickbacks.
Okay, let's say you had the power of advisement in the DNC, and they came to you and asked you, we have the ear of the president, and we want to know, he's willing to listen to us. He wants to, or better yet, we want to ask you, do you believe this is the guy that should run again in 2024? Would you recommend Biden running again for president at 82 years of age in 2024? Do you think that's the best thing for Democrats moving forward?
I don't think having presidents that are 80, 82 years old in general is the best way to go. I think we should have younger blood. But I don't think we should be changing captains in midstream either. Biden's done a damn good job, and with the completion of this last bill they just got passed through, or they're about to pass through, an awful lot of his agenda has passed and is going to do great things for America. If simple things, even, I mean, in his infrastructure bill, 10 million Americans are going to have lead pipes removed.
So you're giving me both sides of. So I need to know the answer though. Do you recommend us having this guy run again? You're giving me both ends of this. So you do say yes. At 82. Wow, 82 to 86 years of age is what he would be as a second-term president.
Okay, but in the same light, he just gave the longest press conference in American history and it was flawless.
So you don't buy into the dementia claims?
No, that's all from Don Jr. I mean, who cares? I mean, Trump couldn't even read the word Yosemite. I mean, come on, the guy's adult.
All right, okay.
I mean, how many times did he repeat oranges when he was trying to pronounce the word origins? I mean, he's just a silver spoon brat. That's all he is, a silver spoon brat that's used to getting everything the way he wants it all his life. And he's corrupt. And excuse me, listen, no matter what, when you sit in the Oval Office after taking your oath of office to uphold the laws of the land, and for 187 minutes, you watch our nation's capital be attacked and you do nothing, even though your entire cabinet is urging you to do something, you are guilty of dereliction of duty and you're disqualified.
That's an interesting point. I have to ask, do you think he'll face any criminal outcome from that? Or do you think he'll skate through that? Because he's defeated 2 impeachments. And shit, what else has he defeated? I mean, do you think that he will face any type of serious recourse from what you're talking about, January 6th?
I do, and I believe Merrick Garland is diligent enough that he's not going to proceed until he has all his ducks in a row. And I mean,
that's advisable.
Trump is currently the target of a criminal federal investigation. That's not a good sign.
You think they will indict him?
I do. Wow. And I also want to put in that Miss Tawney, the AG out of Georgia, she's not nothing to mess with. My money is on her. I think she's going to get him with RICO charges. You know, once she gets one of them to start talking.
He's also facing a tax case in the state of New York, if I'm correct as well.
Yeah, but that's civil. That's not a criminal case.
Okay. Well, okay. Is he facing anything out of Arizona still?
Well, actually, because of the Rudy Giuliani making illicit calls out there that were, again, voter tampering. Yeah, inevitably, but that could tie in all into the whole RICO, act.
You think they're gonna RICO the president?
I do. That's what
you really criminal enterprise.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what Miss Tawney, the AG out of Georgia, is presently doing.
Damn. Okay. Let me ask this, and I get where you believe they're going to go out there, but I have to ask this because I say it all the time on my program. I believe that it is unsafe to try to prosecute the president criminally. You're saying they're going to go after him anyway, so I have to ask you that. What would the country be like if they tried to literally go into Mar-a-Lago or wherever the hell the president is at and bring him out in handcuffs or even announce that he's been taken into custody? How would the country respond to that?
A bunch of them are going to cry and whine and bitch a lot, but they're not going to storm Mar-a-Lago or any federal holding facility.
Are you certain of that? You feel confident in
that? And if they do, I've got a big bag of popcorn.
I don't think the stuff that's popping with them is going to be popcorn, though.
No, I'll be popping by my popcorn to watch and sit back and watch the escapades, because what they got coming is not going to be what happened on January 6th.
Okay. But you think for the most part, if they did prosecute Trump criminally, the country would go on and we'd be okay?
Yes, I do. And I mean, they're already looking at Ron DeSantis as the replacement. But I mean, one important thing: are we going to let a president or an ex-president be above the law? That doesn't set a good precedent.
They all are, though. I mean, you don't expect if you went out, if you came and found me and took my life, as opposed to going and doing that to Brett Kavanaugh, you really think they're going to treat you the same? No, they are above the law. I mean, you're talking about the former president of the United States.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And we should have indicted Nixon. We set a bad precedent then. But I mean, this was a I'm sure you're aware. I mean, this was a multi-pronged coup. I mean, everything from calling Georgia to fake electors to storming the Capitol to making plans behind the scenes to use the military to confiscate voting machines, to the big lie, to Mike Lindell and Dominion machines, yada yada. I mean, it doesn't even stop.
This is what I'll throw out there, and I see Pop Square in the comments saying, "If y'all lock Trump up, there will be war." I asked you, but in the audience, peace or war? I just want you to let me know. I want to see what the comments are. Peace or war? How do you feel the country would turn out if they did? I don't want to say orange jumpsuit because they wouldn't do that to the president. But if they did detain him and take him into custody, peace or war, what do you think would happen? Because I'm not a fan of it. Even though if you prove your case, I don't want you to be above the law. I get that. But this is not a regular individual. It's a former president of the United States with a hell of a lot of loyal followers. I don't think it's safe.
I didn't say it was going to be absolutely peaceful, but are we talking about a complete civil war? Fuck no. Fuck no. They're going to cry a lot. They're going to make a lot of noise like they always do. They can put some new flags on the back of their vehicles and cry on down the road. But are they gonna I mean, look how that worked out for all the people that went to January 6th. I mean, one just got 7 years the other day. So you want to step up?
Well at all.
You know, I say jump, Froggy. Jump, Froggy.
Right. Well, regardless of how the case turns out against the former president, I hope you're right from the aspect of no one should be above the law. I tend to think otherwise, but I hope you're more right than I am. I got to move it on, though, man. Appreciate you coming through.
Have a good day.
Hey, you too, absolutely. All right. Hey, I like to let how many of you out there believe, like that gentleman did, that they may criminally prosecute Trump? I still believe that he's not going to get criminally prosecuted, and if they do, I don't think he would be convicted. Just like I didn't think Hillary Clinton was going to be convicted, and I don't think Hunter Biden is going to do any time either, even though Hunter Biden is not a politician. I just simply believe, which is what I was debating with the last caller, that these folks don't go to jail. Whether you want to say they're not above the law or whatever, that's fine. They should not be above the law, which is what I told the previous caller. However, in our system, everything points to they are above the law. They do tend to be above the law, just like police. If you take a swing at a cop and you're completely wrong, you're going to get treated differently than if a cop is found completely wrong of taking a swing at you. It is just a completely different judgment pattern. And now we're talking about presidents and the kids of presidents and former presidential candidates like Hillary Clinton. It's not the same. We want it to be. It's never been the same. Anyhow, folks, I do got to run. I'm on lunch break. Appreciate you guys coming through. Catch you later.